Imagine this. You have been living in your home for thousands of years. You built it. You know every corner of it. Every tree, every river, every mountain carries the touch of your ancestors. Your children grew up playing on this land. Your grandfather's grandfather is buried in this soil. Then one day, a stranger walks in and tells you he just discovered your home, and from now on, it belongs to him. You said, "Brother, I have been here for thousands of years." He said, "Sorry, but I just discovered you." This is not a movie plot. This is not a fairy tale. This actually happened in 1492 to real people. And their story is one of the most powerful, most painful, and most untold stories in all of human history. Today, we are going to tell that story from beginning to end. The story that no school textbook ever told you. We call them Native Americans, but most people don't realize behind that one name hides thousands of different identities. They are not one group. They are not one culture. They are not one language. They are 574 completely separate nations, each with their own language, their own laws, their own history, their own identity. The Cherokee and the Navajo are as different from each other as Japan. Calling them all by one name is like calling every country on Earth just Earth people. But that is exactly how history treated them, as one group, as one problem, never as individual human beings. Today, we change that. Today, we go much deeper than any textbook ever dared to go. Before Columbus arrived in 1492, this land was anything but empty. The Europeans came and said this is a new world, but the only people for whom it was new were the Europeans themselves. Historians estimate before Columbus set foot here, between 50 to 100 million people were living across the Americas. They had massive cities, trade routes stretching thousands of miles, advanced medical knowledge, extraordinary architecture, their own mathematics, their own astronomy. The city of Cahokia in modern-day Illinois had a larger population than London at the very same time. The Pueblo people of the Southwest carved multi-story buildings directly into the sides of cliffs. The indigenous people of the Amazon used farming techniques so advanced, scientists are still studying them today. Think about that for a moment. This was not a new world. This was someone else's entire world. A civilization thousands of years old, a history thousands of years deep. And the Europeans came and called it empty land. Then came the Europeans, and everything changed. They brought with them disease, war, and displacement. Smallpox, measles, flu, typhus, diseases the native people had never encountered before. Their bodies had no immunity, no defense, no protection. One European would walk into a village. Within weeks, the entire village was gone. Within just 150 years, up to 90% of the entire indigenous population was wiped out. Some estimates say more than 50 million people died just from disease alone. The numbers from war and massacre are counted separately. This is one of the largest population collapses in human history, larger than the Holocaust, larger than any war ever fought. And yet, we learned about it in 2 sentences, sometimes 1 sentence, sometimes not at all. But disease was not the end of their suffering. It was only the beginning. 1830, the United States government passed a law, the Indian Removal Act. The meaning was simple. Native Americans had to leave their land and move west because the government wanted that land. The Cherokee Nation took this law to the United States Supreme Court, and they won. But President Andrew Jackson refused to follow the court's decision. He said, "Send in the army." The Cherokee people, who had their own written language, their own constitution, their own government, their own newspapers, were dragged out of their homes. They were forced to walk hundreds of miles in the middle of winter. No food, no warm clothing, no shelter, no mercy. Elders collapsed on the road. Children froze to death. Mothers carried their dead babies and kept walking. More than 4,000 people died on that journey. Some say the number was far higher. They gave this journey a name, Nuna Da U Tsun Yi. In their language, it means the path where they cried. We know it as the Trail of Tears.
But even the children were not spared. Starting in the 1870s, a new chapter began, one that nobody wants to talk about. The governments of the United States and Canada made a decision. Native children must be separated from their families. Because if the children forgot their own culture, the next generation would cause no more problems. More than 150,000 Native children were forcibly taken from their families. Crying made no difference. Trying to run meant punishment. They were sent to residential schools. There, they were forbidden from speaking their own language. If they did, their mouths were washed out with soap. They could not keep their own names. They could not wear their own clothes. They could not practice their own religion. The official motto of these schools was, "Kill the Indian, save the man." Thousands of children never came home. Some died from illness, some from abuse, some simply from a broken heart. In 2021, in Canada, the remains of 215 children were found buried beneath a former residential school. No names, no markers, no records. This is not ancient history. Some of these schools were still open just 50 years ago. People your grandparents' age watched this happen. But this is where the story turns. World War II, 1942, the war between America and Japan across the Pacific Ocean. Japan had cracked nearly every American military code. Whatever America planned, Japan already knew. America was desperate. Then a man named Philip Johnston came forward with an unusual idea: use the Navajo language to send military messages. The reason was simple. The Navajo language was so complex, so completely unique, it had no written form. No outsider could learn it. It existed in no books. It was found in no dictionaries. The military agreed. More than 400 Navajo men enlisted. They transmitted all military secrets in their native tongue. Tank positions, aircraft codes, battle plans, attack strategies, all in Navajo. Japan never broke that code, not once, not ever. The Marine commander at Iwo Jima said, without the Navajo code talkers, the Marines would never have taken Iwo Jima. Think about this for a moment. The same people whose language the government tried to destroy, the same children whose mouths were washed with soap for speaking their own language. That same language one day saved the entire nation. If that is not poetic justice, I don't know what is. So where are they today? Many people think Native Americans are a chapter in a history book, a character in a Hollywood movie, an exhibit in a museum. They are wrong. There are currently more than 9 million Native Americans living in the United States, 574 federally recognized tribes, 326 reservations, each functioning like a semi-sovereign nation. Their own government, their own courts, their own police, their own schools. They are doctors, lawyers, artists, politicians, engineers, athletes. They work at NASA. They compete in the Olympics. They hold seats in Congress. And yes, they are on TikTok. They are on Instagram. They are on Facebook, telling their own stories, sharing their own culture, in their own language, on their own terms, without asking anyone's permission. They were never gone. They were just not being listened to. Their culture did not disappear. After everything, it survived. More than 170 native languages are still spoken today. Their art, music, dance, and ceremonies continue. Every year, thousands of people gather at powwow festivals, singing their ancestors' songs, wearing their ancestors' clothing. The words we use every single day, many of us never stop to think where they came from. Mississippi, from the Ojibwe language, it means Great River. Chicago, from the Miami, Illinois language. Massachusetts, from the Algonquian language. Tomato, chocolate, avocado, all from native languages. And more than half of the world's crops, potatoes, corn, beans, squash, sunflowers, were first cultivated by indigenous people. Every plate of food around the world that contains corn or potatoes, that is their gift to humanity. The world eats today because of what they built, and most of the world never even said thank you. The story of Native Americans is not a story of defeat. It is a story of survival, a story of resistance, a story of impossible courage. The story of a people who lost almost everything. Their land, their children, their language, their names, their identity. And yet they stood back up. They sang again. They laughed again. They remembered who they were. History tried to erase them. The government tried. The schools tried. Time itself tried. But you cannot erase a people who refuse to forget themselves. They were here first, and they are still here. Not broken, not silent, not forgotten. Their story is not over. It is still being written every single day by 9 million voices who refused to disappear.
If this story moved you, share it. If you can make even one person learn this history, that is enough. Because these stories deserve to be heard. These people deserve to be remembered. Drop a comment below. Which part surprised you the most? Which moment hit you the hardest? If you want more untold histories, more forgotten stories of people the world overlooked, follow this page. We are just getting started.